Hi there, welcome back to the Playbook series. Today I'm joined by someone whose career beautifully blends journalism, leadership, and the art of storytelling. That's Paul Hindle. Paul has spent more than 3 decades shaping narratives across national newspapers and universities, from the Daily Mirror to leading communications at the Montfort University in Warwick, and most recently as the head of content at the University of Derby. And one of the things I love about Paul's story is not just about career longevities, but about reinvention. It has led teams through crisis, has helped investors stay human in their messaging. I look at some of his LinkedIn posts sometimes and it makes me chuckle a bit. And he has proven that leadership in comms isn't just about the way you say it. It's about the way you make people feel. So Paul, welcome to the Playbook series. It's great to have you on today. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm great. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very flattered. And thank you for that intro. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Paul, let's start from the top. You've had quite the journey from journalism to higher education. So when you look back, what first drew you to storytelling and communication?
I think we lived in a very newsy house. So we had a paper delivered every day and the news was always on. And so it was just interesting. My mum was a local councillor for the SDP, which no longer exists. So there's always those sort of discussions happening in the household. And I think we were just saying before we started, I'm going to a gig, and people like going to gigs and theatre. Yeah. And I thought I was just really interested in being where the news was happening. So why not make it your job to be where things were actually happening, where policies were being decided, where just where the news was. So it's still interesting. I wasn't necessarily, for example, when Leicester University rediscovered Richard III, that was nothing to do with me, but I still booked a week off and went to all the events I possibly could. I just think it's interesting, whether it's your local history or whether it's national or international history, to get the opportunity to be on the spot. And I think journalism gave me an opportunity to be on the spot, and I'm nosy as well, and it gives you an opportunity to get paid for being nosy, really. So that was good. It was perfect. It's just really interesting to be where the news is as it's being created.
Yeah, can imagine. So at what point did you realize that this was what you wanted to do forever? At what point was it?
I think I had some work experience at my local newspaper, the Redditch Advertiser, and I definitely recommend anybody to go and get whatever work experience you can, because you learn more in those couple of weeks that I had than I'd learned from all the textbooks you'd read and all the people you'd listened to. And I guess that it was the first one of those weeks, actually. It was a GCSE year, so the editor just came out onto the newsroom floor and said they got 2 pages to fill. Did anyone have any ideas of how to fill it? And there was kind of this silence, and I was on work experience, so I didn't think I should speak up, but no one spoke up. So I said, well, it's the first year of GCSEs. Why don't we go out to all the schools and interview the pupils in terms of how they found GCSEs versus O-levels, etc. And that happens quite a lot now, but it wasn't really the done thing to that extent in those days. And he said, yes, of course we should do that. And so we did it. I went out with the reporter that I really admired. He was like the chief reporter. He was really cool. I really looked up to him, and he kind of was asking the questions that I was suggesting, and suddenly we'd filled 2 pages of the paper with my idea. And I know it was not rocket science, but it's just like, it was the news that week. It was the biggest thing in my world that week, because I was taking my own GCSEs as well. And then for the editor to say, yep, that's a great idea, we'll go with it, you're like, oh, right, okay, so I could actually do this then. I could actually sit in a newsroom and say, I think this is interesting, why don't we run with it? And it will happen. So I think that was a moment that probably gave me the confidence that, what my opinion's just as valid as the other journalists in the newsroom, and away we go. So and then it's just a case of looking out for stories that were happening, and I would send them in and they would print them, and and gradually you're building that experience before you've even got your job, and you're just getting that confidence. So I think when I then went for the interview at that same paper for my first job, I had all this kind of wealth of actual experience that I'd had already in their newsroom. So it really stood me in good stead, I think.
That was quite the pioneering move, because I mean, at the time it wasn't done. Now it's a norm. Like after every exam season, there's always the questions: how was it? What are you expecting compared to last year? How hard was it? So I mean, that was brilliant.
I think because I think schools are really geared up for it now, but then the head teacher was really surprised that we were there and was asking what we were doing, why we were doing it. And now you think every school is kind of scrambling to get the press to come to their results day. So it felt good. And it was a real boost, as I say, that they kind of went with that idea, and we ended up running 2 pages on it, which I was really pleased with.
Wow. Okay. And that eventually got you into the room that you wanted to?
Yeah, pretty much. So I was really lucky. And again, it just, you never know who your key people are going to be. So I went off, I started a degree I didn't like. I just wasn't ready for more and more study. I wanted to get into the world of work. So I left my degree after a year and a term, and I went to work at a motorsport stadium, and my mum and dad were very understanding about that, looking back, because if my kids did that now, I'd be horrified probably. But I knew that would help get me a portfolio. It would help me write stories about what was happening there. I could get them printed in the press, and then I could take them to my interview. So yeah, I think the fact that I'd done work experience helped, and I had a portfolio. And then I didn't know there was actually a job going at the newspaper, because I kind of moved away. And my old history teacher found out that there was a job going and recommended me. And then the editor got in touch with me. So I wouldn't have known there was even a job going had it not been for my history teacher. So what a star. And, still in touch with him on Facebook. And I know I'm only one pupil in 1 year of his whole kind of 35-year career, but what an impact, what a teacher. So just put me in touch. And then obviously I had to do the interview and the rest myself, but what a star. So yeah, good lesson is not to annoy your teachers, and kind of keep good relationships with your teachers and your lecturers, because this is what they can actually do for you. It's I'm so grateful.
Yeah, that's tip 1 on Paul's playbook. Keep the relationship with your teachers, because you never can tell. They give you the knowledge, but also they could open that door for you, like they open for Paul. So that's amazing.
Yeah,
Paul.
just keep in touch. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so Paul, moving from the newsroom now to university strategy rooms, that's like a big shift. So what was that transition like for you personally?
It was a big shift, and I think I'd worked in newspapers for kind of 2 decades, and it was all I'd wanted to do. So it was a big move. I know it's been reflected in previous episodes of your podcast, the imposter syndrome. I didn't think I necessarily had anything to offer or the right qualifications, but in the event you have got a lot of transferable skills. If you know about storytelling, if you can write concisely, if you bring a degree of curiosity and questioning to a role, then you've got some superb transferable skills. So but I didn't get the job first time, so I went for a job at De Montfort University, and again I hadn't seen that job. Somebody recommended it to me. So it is really a case of who you know, the contacts, and just keeping in touch with people. I just had a chat this afternoon with someone that we're just keeping in touch. Neither of us had anything for the other one, but we just keep in touch, and eventually I'm sure that one of us will have something for the other. But yeah, you just do a lot of that all the time. So that worked out well, and I went for the job, and I did a good job in the interview, but they had someone better, and rightly so. I know the person that got it, and she was better for that role. But they said that I was the runner-up, and they'd keep in touch, which, you hear that sort of thing, you don't necessarily believe it. But I knew in the interview I'd felt that I'd actually let myself down on the social media questions. So I thought, I'm going to go for this sort of job again. I've got to be better on social media, because I sort of used it, but I didn't really understand how it should be applied in a business sense. So again, I was quite lucky because my partner's son, my stepson, was at university in Newcastle at that time doing marketing, and he had loads of social media marketing textbooks that he brought home for Christmas. So I had a interview in November. I asked him to bring all his textbooks back for Christmas, and I spent my Christmas break kind of studying social media marketing, how they were teaching it at university, and then was really lucky to get called back for another interview for a different role, and absolutely smashed the social media then because I'd just literally studied it at sort of degree level. So I think it's about having that honest assessment of yourself of where you think you did well, and do credit yourself when you did well, because we're really bad at that, but also where you know you fell down, and go and make sure that you don't do that again. And that set me on a great path, really, because then when I got the job, there weren't that many people that knew a lot about social media in the sense of the way it was being taught at universities and the way to kind of structure your whole department so that social media worked. So yeah, it was a big transition. I was truly terrified for months, really. It was really difficult, but I was lucky because the team there was made up of half people that were from a journalistic background and half people that were from a PR background, and we really complemented each other very well. So you got the kind of marketing campaign skills from the PR people, and you got the storytelling and the deadline driven sort of mentality of the journalists as well. So it was a perfect team. I'd definitely recommend that all teams have some journalists in them, because they do bring that drive and that intensity and the agility and the recognition of what's a good story.
True, I totally agree. It first starts with the recommendation, but then there has to be that zeal to learn something new, which is why I'm picking from that story now, because I look at your playbook and your story and I'm like, yes, you can actually transition from one thing to the other, but the gap that is needed to be filled, should be paid much attention. I mean, it's the first time I'm hearing anyone saying they studied social media. Everyone just stumbles on social media and they just use it regularly, and then they speak about it. But wow, this is a very big difference, studying it, sitting down with the books. Wow, interesting.
Take it seriously. Take it seriously, because you're right what you say. You absolutely have to use it. I mean, it's all about what's trending, isn't it? So you have to use it, you have to be up to date, you have to know what people are talking about, but it also has a structure to it. And to succeed, you do need some rigor and some planning, and that's what the textbooks gave me. So again, I would recommend anybody to go and get that education. Use it, of course, be obsessed by it, have it on your phone all the time, understand what works, what doesn't work, but also do the study, because there's some really clever people that are dedicating their lives to understanding how this stuff works. So go and hear them.
True. So that's tip 2, get the education that you need.
Get the knowledge.
I'm liking this playbook. Love the playbook. Speaking of teams, you've led teams, in major universities. So what would you say is the key to building strong communications culture within a large institution? So I can imagine if you lead the communications for an entire university, you're talking about different faculties, you're trying to capture different stories, all to positioning the university as the right university to go to, the right place to study. So what's the key to building that strong communications culture within a large institution?
Yeah, and I think I always feel a bit embarrassed sort of answering these sort of questions, because it feels like quite egotistical, like, oh yes, I built magnificent teams and here's how you do it. So you'd have to ask the people that worked in my teams as to how they felt. But we've had a few teams that have had some real successes, and I guess there's common themes that run throughout that is kind of trust your experts a lot. So I try not to micromanage. Again, you'd have to ask my team how well I manage that, because 20 people are going to know at least 20 times as much as me. So why should my idea limit the output of that team? Why can't we get 20 times the value by listening to all the attributes that everyone has to bring. I mean, we recruit people into the teams for a specific reason. So, you may be skilled at social media or storytelling or video production. So I want you to go and do it to the best of your ability. So I think definitely trust your experts, take lots of opportunities for feedback and listening. So I would have, and again, this has worked and it's not worked, but when it worked really well, I'd have a daily kind of 9 a.m. stand up with my comms team, just to understand what they were working on today, what were the opportunities that we could jump on to make a quick win, what were their pressures, what were their pinch points, where they needed some help. And just by getting the 20 people, literally 10 minutes, it shouldn't have gone on any more than that, just standing up round someone's desk, just sharing what their pain points were, what they were positive about, what they were working on. You'd obviously get other people that could help or could say that, well, they've done something similar. How about you approach it like this? So lots of, ironically, communication in a communication team. So we had that opportunity every day for them. Always have one-to-ones with my teams. And again, I've had criticism for maybe having them. I've had criticism from my managers for having one-to-ones with my team too regularly. But I think it's just invaluable, just that chance to sit with your team member and for them to know that that's coming and they've got your ear exclusively for that hour. I think they add so much value to the relationship and the output of the team. I always try and prioritize those and don't cancel those. Just be reliable. Turn up for them. Turn up with your full attention. If you do have to rearrange, make sure you rearrange, for the earliest possible opportunity. I think your people are by far and away your most valuable asset, if it's not too horrible to describe them as an asset. So you've got to look after them so much. So pay attention to your people. I'm quite relaxed and try to encourage people to be quite robust with their feedback for me if it's going to make things better. So I've had a couple of fantastic people in my team. There's a few faces springing to mind now who really have. We've had the honesty and the authenticity to be quite robust with each other, and it just made us better. And you just got to park any ego. I think you've got to have, confidence in your ability and your decision making, and have a view, but be prepared to have that view challenged. And if it's going to make the business better, then go with it. And sometimes, remember, a couple of some of our best social media posts, the social media manager brought it to me and I was like, really? I'm not sure, but why don't you try it? And it was brilliant. And that was good because they understood that I didn't know everything and they should have the confidence to come and say to me, can't we do this? Because I think it'll really work and here's why. And we'll just do it. So I think lots of listening, lots of communication, pay attention to your team, what they're interested in. It's really nice to know what they've done. So we'd start, I'm going on and on here, so feel free to interrupt me, but we try and start each team meeting. So again, have a regular team meeting once a week with some sort of icebreaker, whether that's your first gig that you went to or your highlights and your lowlights from the weekend, or what gives you the ick or something like that, just to have 5 or 10 minutes where we all learn a little bit about each other, what made us tick, what doesn't make us tick, and just have a laugh. And then you start building a team. And what I really love now is teams that I worked in kind of 10, 12 years ago. You still see the people of those teams socializing together, having baby walks together. And it's just so lovely because you think, well, that's the idea, isn't it? That we bonded so well that we now want to keep in touch with those people and share our lives with them.
Honestly, I mean, and that's a very beautiful thing about working with people, knowing that while you worked with them and even after working with them, you can still keep that relationship. It goes a very long way.
Yes.
And I mean, this just shows how very human-centered your kind of leadership is, because like marketing is, we need to nurture both our customers that are internal, which is our teams, and then the ones that are external, which is our intending customers. Very good to know that was your own approach. And for anyone who's listening as well, Paul is just giving you a playbook of how to handle lad teams and how to set the culture. Just be you and be human. I know there are lots of structural do's and don'ts, but at the end of the day, it's still humans you're working with. So that's really interesting. Let's talk about storytelling. Which is the real craft in communications itself. So, what makes a story resonate with people? What makes a story relatable? Especially in the context of institutions or like universities. You've overseen social media teams that have ranked among the top in the UK for our engagement. So what was the secret sauce that was used to ensure that the story was very inspiring and relatable?
The secret sauce. Yeah, if only we knew. I think people have to see themselves in the story. So therefore there's no limit to the amount of stories that you can tell, because there's no limit to the amount of people, is there? There's so many different people from different backgrounds, have different life experiences, different lived experiences. So I think our most powerful stories were the stories that, told the journey of someone who'd come from the position that the person reading that story was in at the moment, and then could see the fact that, they followed this path and now they're CEO of this company, or they're doing their dream job at a theatre, or they're working in an arts creative, or whatever it was, and just then positioning those stories into the right spaces. So it might be that you try and seed those stories into kind of trade press, or just on your general feed, or into a newsletter, on an email, and just constantly kind of understanding what stories worked and where to position them. I mean, the ultimate kind of test when you're a journalist is how would you tell that story to the person you live with? So does it excite you, and how would you go about telling it? So you wouldn't have a big long rambling intro, because the person that you're living with would just be bored and go and watch telly or something. And even more so now in these days when we're kind of battling 4 devices at once. So it's got to be concise, it's got to be interesting, and people have to see themselves in the stories that you're telling, I think, particularly in HE, because you want people to be inspired by the story that they're seeing and want to follow that journey themselves.
Interesting. Thank you so much for answering that. But for higher education institutions, today trying to communicate to Gen Z or the younger audiences,
Yeah.
which are the ones ripe for these institutions now. What should they do differently? What would be your recommendation?
Well, I think it's really difficult, because you can see that I'm a long way from Gen Z now. So I would always have people in my teams that had just finished their degree, who were literally in that generation, who knew what had worked for them, and would bring that to the team and say, well, actually, you sent me all this stuff that I just ignored, but it was these 2 or 3 tactics you had that were the absolute killers. And again, like I said earlier, that then therefore be prepared to listen to the experts in your team and shift your tactics as a result. And I think the one thing I would recommend always is just talk to your audience, however you're doing that, whether that's through formal market insight. And I'd always start any campaign with market insight. You just have to get as much information as you can of what your audience is interested in, what they want to hear about, and be prepared to build a campaign around that insight and not necessarily what you think, because what I think is going to be nothing like what an 18-year-old thinks, obviously. So I can have the experience to offer, I can talk about what's worked in the past and what tactics we've tried and failed, but you have to hear from your audience. And at higher education, it's particularly easy because the audience is probably just in the corridor outside. So just go and talk to them. I mean, at the University of Derby, my last job, there's a massive central atrium at the Kettleston Road campus where a lot of the students who are based at that building, they hang out between lectures and lessons. Just go down there. I mean, they might laugh at the man in the suit at some point, but they're going to tell you they're more than happy to chat. And your audience are so delighted to tell you what they think about your social media. And they're probably going to be rude about it sometimes, but be prepared to accept it and learn. So yeah, you've got to just, whether it's formal market insight, chats, if you can go to their degree shows or go to the spaces where they're going to be at, go to the bingo nights at the local pub and just talk to them about what's interesting them, what would they pay attention to out of all the noise we get on our social channels, what grabs their attention. try and do it.
Interesting. I mean, it just brings back memories on from one of the jobs I had one time when I also worked in the HE industry as well, and for that particular faculty, we weren't getting enough feedback from the
Yes,
students, so we did something really odd. We just threw a party for them, brought pizza, and that
exactly.
just it resolved the whole thing. So on your part, what's been the should I say the weirdest thing you've done to get your users or your customers or your students to talk to you to give you feedback? what's the biggest length you've
Oh
gone?
gosh, oh my word. The biggest. Well, we've definitely done the pizza and gathering together. I mean, we took students with us on our trips. So we had a scheme at De Montfort University called DMU Global. I think they still run it, where you take students abroad. We would
Oh,
be
nice.
required to cover that as a comms team. We'd take a student or two with us to 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 tell us in live real time where we're going wrong. You should do this, you should do that, which sometimes was absolutely priceless. I'm trying to think of the biggest thing. We just had them involved all the time, probably in ways that other brands would shy away from. So we'd let them take over our channels, for example.
Oh,
We'd give them the password to the Instagram and let them do takeovers. I mean, we had some sort of checks and balances, but it's always a big risk. Not only that the student would go rogue, but they wouldn't understand the brief enough, and would maybe put some stuff up that was wrong or badly timed. So it's always a risk, and you're always slightly nervous, but the authenticity was priceless. I mean, they were telling you all about their own degree show. So we'd do that every day, more or less every day. We'd have a takeover. We
wow.
had a whole rota of takeovers going on, because that's the voice, isn't it? That's the voice we were trying to
Mm.
capture. So why not actually just use that voice?
Hmm.
So that's
Wow.
probably the scariest tactic we've had. It's the
I
most
mean,
extreme way.
that's a great tip. That's a very big tip. It's what millions of pounds, because to be honest, if every institution had takeovers, then that would be like a mirror for whoever it is who wants to be part of the institution. They can see
Yes.
themselves. That way it resonates. The story is raw. It's undiluted.
Yes.
It's unscripted. Oh wow, that's a big
Yeah.
one. That's a big one in the playbook. So for
It's
anyone
great.
who works in the higher education industry, and I mean, this is just one tip you could do. Takeovers every day. Just have a schedule for it. Have
Yeah.
control measures in place.
Yeah.
just in case
There's
anything happens.
yes. Yeah, there's rules and regulations for students. So, if you have to, you can point out the rules and regulations. So, don't mess up the Instagram, because actually you might be breaching this code of practice. But in general, all the students we work with were just lovely and
Wow.
so keen to help, so keen to tell their story, be part of the social media, and it just grew and grew. So that the more you had, the bigger it got, the more people wanted to be involved. Just fabulous, and just our team, the teams I've had have produced smashing content, award-winning content. But what an extra enhancement that the takeovers from the students themselves were.
Hmm. Interesting. Oh wow, that's. I wish I could just continue to drive this conversation in this direction, but
Yeah.
I want us to. I want us to get the wheel rolling. So one of the things that come to mind is I can imagine this is quite different from how storytelling was done, in the past, which brings me to we thinking about the future of everything, storytelling comes and marketing, you know, um with AI now in the picture, clearly in the picture. I know 2024 was more like an introduction.
Yes,
2025 is about decisions. So with
I
AI
agree.
changing how content is being produced, where do you think the role of human storytellers fits in the future of marketing? How should communications leaders prepare for this next wave where technology and authenticity must coexist? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's just really interesting, isn't it? I would say it just gain as much knowledge as you can. I think and don't be afraid of the change that's coming, because it's here. As you say, 2025 was kind of a big breakthrough year. It just became mainstream, didn't it? Everybody's using it. Whereas in 2024, it was a bit niche. It was kind of early adopters. And I think when I was on newspapers, the big lesson that I learned there was they kind of missed the internet coming. They thought that wouldn't threaten their business model. It was ignored for years, and that's why a lot of newspapers went out of business eventually, because they ignored the new technology and were trying to stick to a business model that unfortunately the audience had moved away from. And you can moan all you like and reflect on the glory days and how wonderful it was. It was great when I started, but the audience is not there anymore. They've gone. So you're just shouting into a void. And this will be the same with AI. So I would be really keen at my next institution to join an institution that had a working group, maybe had a director of AI that was taking it that seriously, that was bringing the expertise together in the organization to share best practice and to understand how best to utilize it for the good of the business. I don't think AI can replace that human storytelling, that kind of nous, but it can write fantastically well. It can suggest ideas, it can draw up comms plans, it can do a lot of that hard yards and maybe free up a bit more time for the creativity of the human beings. I always said to my team, don't ever let our final draft or the final thing we send to the client or the customer be AI. It must be from us, but you can use it along the journey. It might be the fact that you maybe spend more time editing than you did in the initial creation. You'd let AI do more of the initial creation, but then you'd have to spend more time editing that. But it's just trying it and trying different ways. I know at De Montfort University's Market Insight department, they were really leading the field as far as I was concerned in using AI to analyze market insight in so much depth and so much quicker than a human being could do. And obviously AI wouldn't get tired. So, all that kind of qualitative analysis, it wouldn't tire of that. All the reams and reams of quotes from people, AI can just keep going and going and going and analyzing them in a way that a human starts to make mistakes. So it's insanely valuable. We just have got to get on board and get adopting it, because it's here. And anybody that doesn't adopt it, unfortunately, is just going to be left miles behind. So it's a massive challenge. I definitely don't have the answers. When I've got the answers, we'll come back and we'll do another episode, and I'll let everyone know. But just get on board, have the meetings, understand your colleagues, because there's always colleagues that are happy to do it in their own time or are so excited, so obsessed. I was like that with social media for years. It's just all I wanted to do, to learn and to understand and to try things. And there's colleagues dotted about every department that I've worked in who are similar with AI. So get them in your meetings and listen to them and understand how they're using it and how they've adapted it. And don't think it's a waste of time, because it's absolutely going to transform your business if you can harness that expertise.
Honestly, I think not just comms leaders or marketing professionals should listen to this. I think the entire institution needs to sit down and listen to what Paul has to say, because to be honest, I think the HE sector is still a bit behind in catching up with AI and implementing it, at
Yes,
large. I think, yes,
I
it
agree.
started, but there needs to be like a um, full-blown accommodation of AI
Yes,
into the whole system. Because I think about the marketing process. Yes, there's the part of retelling the story, but there's also the follow-up and the nurturing, that happens in between that part
yes,
where one sees the story and one makes that decision. So it's
yes,
just amazing. Like you
yes,
said, the waves that have come before, a lot of people missed out on them because they just felt, what, nothing could happen. It's just another bluff. But AI is not gonna bluff. It's coming, it's
no,
here. It's either you decide or you just miss out on it. So Paul, this in this section now, we're just gonna do like a quick fire
yes,
questions. So you just tell
yes.
me the first thing that comes to mind. The first
Okay,
thing that comes to mind. So
yes,
one word that defines good communication. One word.
concise.
Concise. Okay. Journalism or higher education? Which was tougher?
Journalism, but can I have some more words just to say? Because journalism was tough, real good learning, but actually I had more senior positions at higher education. So therefore that was more demanding in terms of the seniority and the amount of people we had to look after. But journalism in terms of the shifts and the pace and the deadlines. So my one word answer would be journalism.
Okay, awesome. One campaign that you're most proud of?
I think all the work we did around Leicester City winning the Premier League title to make that resonate with our prospective students in terms of just showing, well, it's just sharing the feeling. Look what it feels like to be in Leicester at the moment, and don't you want to come and have a part of that?
Wow, that was one super year, by the way.
It was an amazing year.
It was mind blowing. It was unbelievable.
Yes. We'd have, yeah. So like Kasabian and the Parade happened on a Monday night, so we just had posts that said this is what Monday night looks like in Leicester, and you know they were insanely popular. It was great. What an opportunity. We loved it. The team loved it. Everyone wanted to get involved. It was just a brilliant campaign. Really enjoyed it.
Wow, interesting. What were the results like? The results of the campaign, what was it like this year?
Oh, mega. I mean, they're still, and again, the channels have changed now. We're talking kind of almost 9 years ago, aren't we? Unbelievably. So the channels are different, so it's difficult to compare like for like, but they were on Facebook, for example, they were still our record-breaking metrics. They've never been beaten in terms of the reach, the interactivity, because it was around the time that Facebook had launched live streaming. And again, this is where we were truly blessed, because it's absolutely critical, I think, if you're running a social media team, to be an early adopter of the latest technology. So don't wait. So live streaming came and we had it in play on day one, testing it live on the account and not having meetings about it, not saying, oh, we think it might be good, let's see how other people do. So we'd already honed our expertise on live streaming, and then we had the biggest news story you could imagine, so we just went and live streamed it. So we would go, I know when Leicester actually won the league, they weren't playing, but it was because it was Tottenham, wasn't it, who drew it. Chelsea. It was a bank holiday Monday night. I had 4 of my team who were more than happy to go out and live stream from different venues around the city. So I went to the King Power, someone went to the city centre, and we just live streamed it, and we're just constantly trying to bring it back to the university and say, look, we're a quarter of a mile from campus, this is what's happening, talk about the partnerships we had with the club, but while letting the pictures just speak for themselves. So it was so many learnings from that. I mean, the metrics were insane. I mean, we're talking like hundreds of thousands of actual engagements with posts, which for a university account was seismic. It was huge. So we got De Montfort University into timelines that we never would have reached.
Wow, amazing. You know, and that's just the advantage of being on the trend and knowing how to take advantage of it.
At the time, you can't wait.
Yeah,
you can't wait for meetings and committees. You have to build trust with your senior leadership team and just let them give you the reins and get out and do it. I was sort of 6 months later, I was going to brilliant social media marketing conferences. I always want to go and mix in those, but I was hearing people that were still talking about, we think we're going to adopt live streaming, and it was done by then. I mean, Facebook had stopped promoting it on its algorithm, stopped favoring it, and you've missed it. So you've got to be quick.
Yeah, you need to be quick. Oh wow. That's another tip on the playbook as well.
Yes, Paul, speed.
This is amazing. I'm really enjoying this session. So coffee or tea while writing?
Tea.
Coffee or tea?
Tea. Always
tea all the way.
Yeah, caffeinated to start the day and then decaffeinated in the afternoon.
I know, right? So, okay, final one. That one principle you will never compromise on as a leader.
Honesty. So be as honest and as transparent as you can. And I think the more senior you get, there's more things that you can't say, but at least talk to people about why you can't say, or what's the best information you can give them. I don't see any reason to not be honest and transparent and authentic, and then people will give it you back. and then the team works.
Oh wow. That's the heart of storytelling as well. If the story is not
Yes,
honest, you could tell.
point. Absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. That's what makes it the perfect storytelling. Oh, interesting.
Yep.
So, Paul, one question: if you had a room filled with students, enthusiasts, people who are interested in going into either journalism or communications or marketing, what's that one advice that you're going to share with them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got to position yourself. You've got to signal that that's what you want to do, because people don't. How would they know that that's your dream? So you've got to talk about it. Maybe build your presence online. You've got to think about the companies that you want to work for and find out what opportunities you've got to be involved in their work, whether it's focus groups or internships or work experience, or in storytelling's case, can you find stories and share them? Just got to make yourself known. It is about building your personal brand, and definitely the new generation, the generation that's coming through kind of HE now, is way better than my generation was. But you have to have your personal brand. You must signal your intention. Be very intentional about what you want to achieve, and don't be shy about it, and really be prepared to try things, and don't be worried about failing, because we could have a whole new podcast on the amount of times I've failed, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. So don't be afraid of it. Everyone is a good learning.
Oh wow, that would get like a standing ovation. To be honest,
Yeah.
I'll get a standing ovation. Thank you so much, Paul, and thank you for having this conversation and being here today. I truly um believe that your story just reminds us, that communication is more about connecting with people with honesty at the heart of it. Building trust and just staying grounded through change because I think with the wealth of experience that you've had, you've seen it all. You've seen the
Yes.
transition, the changes, and for each time that the change came, you adapted and you were proactive. And I think that's what will give a lasting playbook, a playbook that could work in any generation, whether it is now, whether it's 100 years from now. This playbook will always work with anyone who watches this. I mean, this
Yes.
might last 100 years from now. Definitely would last 100 years from now. So if you're
Hey,
watching
let's hope
in
so.
125, 125, this is we from the past saying this is still gonna work no matter where the
Yeah.
future is. And so, if you've enjoyed this episode, I want to just encourage you to subscribe to the Playbook series on YouTube and on Spotify. And I also just want to say thank you, Paul, for joining us today. So, any final words before we wrap up the episode? Anything you'd like
Well,
to
no,
say?
thanks for having me. Really good conversation. I'd recommend that people subscribe, because you've got some really interesting interviews on your channel already. And that's it. You just got to hoover up the advice from people that want to share it, and you'll learn. You'll pick up lots of tips, and then you'll go your own way based with all that knowledge.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for the recommendation. So, one final piece. I know I've mentioned final pieces like 5 times, but one final one is so we just want you to wrap up the Playbook series by saying, "Hi, my name is Paul. This, and this is my playbook." So you're gonna do it
Yes.
twice. So let's go. One
Yes.
time. Okay.
So I'll try it. Yeah. Yeah. Hi, I'm Paul Hindle, and this is my playbook. That good enough, or do you want it again?
One more time, just in case.
Hi, I'm Paul Hindle, and this is my playbook.
Thank you very much, Paul. That was really perfect. Thank you very much. For anyone who's watching this episode, you do well to subscribe and also follow Playbook series on YouTube and Spotify. I'd also advise that you follow Paul on LinkedIn, especially Paul Hindle on
Yes,
LinkedIn. He's
please
got an
do.
amazing account, very interesting posts, and very, very human friendly. Very I saw the one about making a path and he took a picture of a garden and I was like, oh, okay. Interesting. So thank you so much again for joining us on this series, Paul.
Pleasure.
And we look forward to having you some other time. Maybe when there's another change again, that we come back.
Thank
But
you.
thank you so much. So to the viewers, thank you. See you on the next episode on the Playbook series. Bye bye.